federal judge once again temporarily blocking the U.S. Postal Service from putting into effect a key provision of President Trump's effort to restrict mail-in voting. Yesterday, the judge issued a temporary restraining order that halts parts of Trump's executive order to stop the Postal Service from delivering mail-in ballots to voters whose names are not on an approved list that was created by the Trump administration. This comes after the Supreme Court on Tuesday allowed the president's executive order to move forward. The court's conservative majority did not decide on the legality, though, of that order. The justices instead ruled 23 states who sued did not have the right or the standing to challenge it. President Trump has claimed without evidence again and again that voting by non-citizens is a widespread problem. It is not, statistically. The Trump administration now likely to appeal this ruling, and it could again end up before the Supreme Court. But even if the administration is ultimately successful, it's not clear whether there would be enough time to implement the changes before the November midterms. So, Ali Vitali, this is what a lot of people predicted, which it was going to get kicked back up eventually to the Supreme Court. But this all takes time. The ballots are going out, mail-in ballots going out, for example, in North Carolina a week from today. The process is effectively underway while the courts sort this out.
It's happening so close to November and so close to when ballots are going out that it really does lend to more confusion for voters. I mean, when I was watching states like Texas and others do mid-decade redistricting, my biggest concern was, all right, voters might be confused in November what race they're actually voting in, maybe where their polling places are. That's one layer of confusion. But if you're someone who typically votes by mail and now you're seeing that it could be thrown into flux, that only adds more confusion to the process. And so, again, this is going to get kicked through the courts. And I think if it does end up at the Supreme Court, it's important for us to remember that the ruling that they issued to start the week was not one on the substance and the content within the executive order. They weren't saying, yeah, this is all good, the administration can definitely do this. They were making effectively a legal argument around timing and when the suit was actually filed. And so it'll be interesting to see if they actually rule on this, what that ruling is. But again, the confusion just feels like it might be one of the features, not the bugs, of what this administration and Republicans are trying to do.
Do you know what we're talking about here? We're talking about a clearly premeditated plan by the President of the United States to rig an election. That's what he's trying to do. I mean, all of this stuff, every day we're in the courts with one thing or another. Thank God for some of the courts that they restrain him on several elements. I mean, we opened this program this morning by talking about the president signing with a great pen, the naming Lake Ontario, Lake of America or Lake America, whatever. And we cover this every day. It's a clown show. This presidency has evolved into a clown show.
Sam, that's perhaps true, but there are real world implications to it. As we talk about this mail-in voting, I mean, President Trump, let's remind our viewers again, votes by mail. And they say, well, he's busy in the White House. He couldn't possibly vote in person. Well, he spends a lot of his time in Mar-a-Lago. He could. Put that to the side. He's putting out a theory of the case that mail-in voting is rife with fraud, which it's not. We've cited study after study that shows it's vanishingly rare. So what's your sense of how this actually affects people's voting come November and how it might change the outcome?
Well, there's a few things. First of all, I just want to applaud Mike Barnicle's succinct saltiness there. I loved it. It's what we need right now on This Morning. As for the merits of this mail-in balloting, look, you're right that there is vanishingly little voter fraud. And the idea, the predicate for this, that there is voter fraud, is created by Trump's repeated insistence. So they say, well, we have to restore trust in the elections. The reason trust in the elections is low is because Trump's been on a years-long campaign to damage trust in the elections. So you asked, well, what is this going to mean for voting? A lot of people vote by mail, obviously. If the administration were to win on the merits of this case, it would be chaotic. States would have to scramble. They'd have to get a DHS-certified list of voters who are ripe to receive the mail-in ballots. Then the USPS would have to actually send the proper ballots to that list, all while state officials operate under the fear that if they screw up, they could be prosecuted by the DOJ. So it's three different agencies involved in administering a brand new election mail-in balloting regime with about 65 days to go, including some states that have already printed their ballots and would have to reprint them to be properly certified. So you can imagine that would be quite chaotic. quite expensive. People who would get ballots may not get ballots. You're talking about people who are overseas, troops, for instance. They vote by mail a lot. They would be particularly in trouble by this ruling. But let's say that this doesn't go into effect, that the Supreme Court rules, no, this is kind of idiotic to have the Postmaster General be so detrimental and consequential in the administration of our elections. Maybe the founders didn't think of that one and probably shouldn't have. Let's just keep going. Let's say, and then the vote happens, and then the vote's kind of close. At that juncture, it's not so hard to imagine President Trump saying, this is all fraudulent. I didn't get my SAVE Act. I didn't get this mail-in balloting initiative through the Supreme Court. There is way too much fraud in this election. We can't sit these people in the House. And Mike Johnson shouldn't sit these people until we adjudicate what went wrong. That's the nightmare scenario. That's a real nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
And it's not so hard to imagine. Why isn't it hard to imagine? Because we lived through it in 2020. We lived through this with Biden. Now imagine that happening in hundreds of different districts.
Yeah, and the idea that Mike Johnson is going to push back on President Trump, we've long ago abandoned that. And let's just go back to the beginning of this, which is this is a list of eligible voters created and cooked up by the Trump administration and then using the Postal Service with a stacked board of governors to carry it out. It's very messy and the clock is ticking.